Hey, y'all. Happy Sunday. Hope everybody's doing well. A little bit different this week. Who am I kidding? A lot of bit different. We didn't do the 5-minute countdown timer. I'm not going to make y'all wait by putting Greg in the background. I'm just going to say my special guest this week is Greg from STL Woodworking. How you doing today, Greg?
Good. Hey, everybody. Glad to have you.
Glad to have you for sure. But I do have some behind the scenes, inside baseball to take care of, as I do every week. I have to, not because it's contractual, but because he's a good guy. I got to talk about Steve over at Harneal Media. Look, would you agree, Greg? You got to have a website these days if you want to get your products or services in front of people.
For sure.
And I would talk to Steve first. I really would. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He's here every week. You see him. He'll take care of you. He's extremely reasonably priced. And I think the best thing about it is when you're dealing with Harneal Media, you're dealing with Steve. You're not talking to some nameless, faceless person in a call center somewhere that you're never going to contact again. So fair warning, if you cheese him off, you've cheesed off the only guy in Harneal Media. He'll still take care of you, but don't cheese him off. No, I'm kidding. He's a good guy all the way around. Harneal Media, there's a link to Harneal Media in every video and live stream on this channel, and it's that way for a reason. Basically, he gives you results, not excuses. So thank you, Steve, for everything that you do, more than you'll ever know. Check him out. Again, link in the description. Harneal Media. You can't go wrong. All right. I decided in what I do traditionally is November 1st, I put my edited videos on hiatus, but I keep my live stream schedule the same. And I decided rather than doing open Q&As from now until after the new year, I can sit here and tap dance like, the best of them and answer the one or two questions that do come in. But I thought nobody wants to see that. Let's get some guests on. And Greg and I were talking behind the scenes, and you can watch us both tap dance if y'all don't have any questions, because at least we'll entertain ourselves
That's right.
in the process. So I figured I'd get you on first, Greg, and thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being a guest.
Absolutely.
And for the folks that don't know you, I got to say, first of all, there's a link to Greg's YouTube channel and to his website down in the description of this live stream. After we're done, go check them out. Don't leave yet.
Yeah, wait.
The good stuff's just getting ready to start. But for the folks who don't know you, how long have you been involved in, woodworking as a whole, and then specifically in CNC?
So I guess but like anybody else, I piddled around for many, many years, but nothing serious. Back in about 2017, 2018, I kind of started piddling more,
Mm-hmm.
to speak. And about just before COVID, I really started hitting it a little harder. And then in 2021, I actually started the company. And then I've only actually been in CNC for about the last year and a half or so, maybe 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not long at all. I don't know, it's something I wanted to play around with. So I went back and forth on what to buy, what machine to buy, just like anybody else.
Right.
And I finally settled on going a little bigger or going home.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with the Carbide 3D Shapeco 4, which was the Pro. And I did I think it was, don't quote me on this, 33 by 17 and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
Roughly. Quickly outgrew it with the belt drives and everything, which they worked fine for what I was doing. But then I went to the 5 Pro, which is the 4x4 machine, which is the one I currently have in the shop now.
Mhm.
And then, of course, I went to the Avid. I added the Avid. I still have the okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no law that says you can only have one. If you've got the real estate, you can fill up your shop with them.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, how you came across that Avid is another story altogether. We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
But I got to ask, because it's already been out there once, why STL Woodworking?
So, first of all, let me say, anytime I go to a show, a craft show, people assume I'm from St. Louis automatically. Never dawned on me when I came up with the name of St. Louis. I'm not from St. Louis, so I didn't think about it. I did, however, think about it once I started registering the business name and everything and the website, and I found out that I could not get stlwoodworking.com because it belonged to somebody in St. Louis. So my STL actually stands for Spare Time Limited.
Okay.
So, which is very accurate.
Okay. So, I didn't even think about that. You do still work a full-time day job.
I do.
Correct?
I do.
And then you do this after hours, as it
After
were.
hours and on the weekends. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
It's a lot. I work about 400 hours a week, I feel like.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, I know that feeling because I retired in 2018, and I still needed to find a way to wedge a day between Saturday and Sunday because I don't know how I did everything that I have to do now while I was still working an 8-hour day or more sometimes. So, okay. So is this going to kind of morph into a full-time, I hate to say gig, but a full-time job, and then eventually step away from working, doing the 9 to 5 plus? Or
yeah, I would like to see it go there. And it's no secret. I actually, my company I work for is great. They would encourage me to do so. They've asked a couple of times, what are you going to do? Is this going to like, are you going to leave? Yeah. But
can you train your replacement? Yeah.
Yeah. And I've kind of already started doing that. I've got so just in case I needed somebody that could fill in when I wasn't there anyway. But, that's my overall plan. I'm building a big 2,500 square foot shop here on a commercial property in Rome. So I'm kind of going that direction, that with the YouTube channel as well. I'm hoping I can make that happen. I really enjoy it. Really enjoy the woodworking, the CNC part of it. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, cool. Now, for those of you who have never checked it out, again, I put a link to Greg's YouTube channel and to his website down in the description of this. And I invite you to go check it out, and you'll binge watch. I know you will. If you're anything like me, you just lost a day, but that'll work. I've noticed that you kind of have I won't say eclectic because I think that word is overused, but you don't really focus on any one particular discipline, do you? Or any one particular style. You just kind of go all over the place.
I do. I don't like to be locked into anything, and that's good and bad. As a YouTube creator, that can be problematic at times. I just can't. I've thought about doing a separate channel that's just for CNC. But anyway, I like to do what I like to do, and I don't want to be roped into one single thing.
Now, where do you get your design ideas from? Is this one of those things that just wake up in the middle of the night and you got to write it down, or is they just kind of come naturally as you're playing around?
Yes, to both. Sometimes I just randomly think of stuff. One of my, and this is something I talk about in a couple of groups that I'm in whenever we're talking about design ideas and inspiration. You can get so much inspiration by walking through Hobby Lobby and looking at Pottery Barn and stuff like that. again, don't copy their stuff, but you can just make iterations to stuff that's already out there. Number one, if it's out there, it's already selling. You already know that answer. And you can just get some really cool ideas. So Pinterest, the Pottery Barn, Hobby Lobby, I just love checking them out just because there's all kinds of stuff you can grab from there.
Yeah. I would agree on that. Is there any particular style that tends to grab your eye?
No, not really.
So it could be anything from 1950s jet age Googie style to something rustic from the Old West to something from 18th century France. It's just whatever happened that catches your eye.
That's it. Because you never know what somebody's going to ask for too. And I feel like if you're doing like me, I'm doing this for a business. So if I wrote myself into one area, it's going to be difficult to step outside of my comfort zone if somebody wants to commission me to do something that I'm not familiar with or I've never even looked at.
Right. Okay, I can understand that. Yeah. Now, do you tend to take those commissions if it's outside of something that you've already done, or do you kind of tend to or because like me, what I'll do is I say, okay, look, here's what I'll do. I'll give it a try. If you're willing to work with me, this may take 3 or 4 iterations, but unless you need it yesterday, if you're willing to work with me, I'll do it. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I do. And I also too, and I don't do it often. I'm working on a table right now that does fall into this category, but if somebody comes up with something or wants me to do something that is interesting as far as YouTube content, I'll usually tell them if they're willing to work with me on time, because obviously it takes me twice as long at least to do it if I'm having to film it as well.
At the minimum,
if they'll work with me on time, I'll usually throw them a discount off of what it might normally cost them. And it's usually a significant discount to where, because I'm going to get paid back with the, hopefully with the views I gain from the video. but yeah.
Okay. All right. Wow, the next one is kind of hard, so I'm going to put it into. I'm going to go to a question, and then I'll put it in. I'll try to gather my thoughts here. Ellen Madra wants to know on the knife holder. You just pocketed the back to place the magnet, correct?
That is correct.
I've seen those magnetic knife holders. The problem I have is I got no place to hang one. Where did you get that idea from? Just throwing it out there.
I think this was something that I want to say me and Hamilton was talking about this one day. And then I thought, you know what? We were talking about something to do with magnets and holding stuff. And I thought, how simple would it be to take a piece of wood and pocket some holes in the back and put magnets in so you can just stick knives on it? I thought that is so easy. So, and that's just where it came from. And then I've got a keyhole bracket on the back too, where you can hang it on screws and stuff like that. I've got another design of it that I haven't done anything with yet. It's not too far from that one either, but it's just a little bit different of a design.
Okay, cool. Now, do you jazz it up and make the style, quote unquote, your own by doing any engraving on the front, or do you just kind of leave it plain? That is an option.
Yeah, it's absolutely an option. The ones I've got on my site, they're just plain, but I've got it to where I can engrave whatever on it if somebody wants it.
Now, let me ask you a question about that. We're getting into customization, and a lot of people want customization. Especially if you're offering products, they want to, can you put this name on it or can you do that? What is your attitude on customization?
It sells. It really does. But you got to know what you're good at and what you can do. I wouldn't start offering a bunch of stuff. If I was going to do customization, I would pick, 5 fonts. Mm-hmm. Those are your only 5 fonts you've got a choice in. If you leave it open, you're going to run into problems because then you're going to have a font requested that you don't even have. Then you're going to have to buy it, blah, blah, blah. I pick 5 fonts and those are your options. You can customize it and do, depending on what the product is I think I got a couple of things that you have a maximum character amount. And I take my largest font and see how many characters I can get within that one. And that's my largest one.
Yeah. Okay. I've always been of the opinion that the letter S in the word custom should be a $sign, because that's how it's going to go. I mean, I've kind of got the same attitude you have, but the budget is going to dictate how custom we can go.
Yes.
You know. So, but you're absolutely right. As a recovering real estate agent, I can tell you that there is kind of like an unofficial rule in real estate, and that is, if you offer too many options, they'll take them.
Yep.
Meaning you just all of a sudden you freeze because there are so many options available. They don't know where to go. It's harder to make a decision.
A lot of times you'll lose them because of it.
Exactly. I have found it's easier for people to identify what they don't like than it is to identify what they do like. But if you limit the number of choices, 4 colors, 5 fonts, you can work within those permutations, and usually everybody is happier.
Yep, I agree, 1000%.
Okay. All right. Let's see here now. Brooks Martin wants to know, dang, Greg, which spindle do you have? 26,000 RPM for your 1/4-inch end mill. I don't know what he's referring to. Did he watch a video or something?
I don't know. If I said 26, I probably misspoke. Typically 24,000. I have, spindle-wise, I have the PWN water-cooled 2.2 kilowatt 80 millimeter spindle on my Shapeco, and I have the 8.7 horsepower spindle on my Avid.
Yeah, I looked at those, but man, that's a pricey unit, and I don't need anything. I don't do anything to warrant 8.7 horsepower.
Yeah.
So
mine came with it. So
yeah. Let's talk about that, because as you said, you added an Avid CNC, and that's a story in itself.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. So obviously, being a YouTube creator, you wind up running into and talking and speaking to other creators. So a couple of those creators was Matt Outlaw from 731 Woodworks, which is a really good friend of mine now, and then Jay Bates, another friend of mine. Well, I was planning a trip to go do a collab video with Matt on 731's channel. It wound up being on both of our channels, and it was an inlay cutting board that we actually auctioned off for St. Jude. You can find it on mine or his. It was a pretty fun video. But anyway, so long story short, I talked to Jay, and we were talking about where he lived and everything. And my route took me right by Jay's house. And when he realized that, he said, "Hey, you should stop in on the way out." So that's what I did. I stopped in Jay's, and we had some good conversations, spent about 3 hours there. Well, one of those conversations was, I can say now, he was planning on buying some land and moving. So now he bought 101 acres in North Mississippi. He didn't want to move his Avid. So when he said that, I said, "Well, Jay, if you ever decide you want to get rid of it, you let me know." I think it was about 2 weeks later, he called me and was like, "Do you want that Avid?" Wow. So I said, "As a matter of fact, yes, I do." So there's a whole video on his channel, if y'all watch Jay Bates, where I actually came and picked it up, and it's pretty cool. We had a good time. So I got it. The cool thing was, and I'll give a shout out to Avid on this one, is because Avid had no allegiance to me whatsoever. Theirs was only to Jay. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even anymore. His contract with them was up. But what they did do is they basically forwarded that allegiance to me, since I was also a creator, and they have just been amazing with me ever since too, which I know me and Mark have talked a lot about it. So yeah, they've been very helpful. And but that's how I wound up with the Avid. That's why I wound up with the big the big machine.
So it was a known machine. It was a proven machine. And you had two levels of tech support because you could get a hold of Avid and say, hey, what about this, that, or the other? Or you could get a hold of Jay and say, what the hell did you do here?
Yes. And Jay is super cool. So Avid gave the computer that was controlling the Avid, that belonged to Avid. They let me have it. They said, you keep that. So Jay gave me all of his files as well.
Wow.
All of his files. So I haven't even looked at the quarter of them, but yeah, that was pretty cool, but super happy with it.
Sweet. Can't wait. Now, does that have, it does have a rotary, doesn't it?
It does. I got, me and you've talked about it. I've got no idea how to use it yet.
Yeah, mine's right there, and I'm still working with it, getting it dialed in. I mean, I'm right, and you wouldn't believe how picky they are.
I believe it. That's why I'm waiting until you get yours dialed in, and then I can just call you.
That may or may not work.
Truthfully, I'm waiting until I get the new shop built to fool with anything like that.
Yeah. I get it. I'll just say this: the dial indicator is your friend. That's all I'll say.
Remember that.
So let's get back to some questions here.
Okay.
Now, Eighth Center is wondering: is your local market filled with cheap people or buyers? Do you prefer local sales or online customers? So 2 parts there.
So the first part, pretty much anywhere you go, for the most part, you're going to have some cheap folks. I will say, if you pick and choose, now let me address that 2 different ways. If you're talking about Facebook Marketplace, you're always going to have cheap stuff on there, whether you like it or not. I don't care where you live. But if you'll do some research when you're looking at markets to go sell your stuff at, there are differences in the markets. Some are your yard sale markets, basically, is what I call them. Those are where you're going to find your cheaper stuff that you probably can't compete with. But if you do some research, I have a Chattanooga market, which is one close to me, about an hour away from me. There's not any cheap stuff there for the most part. Everything is decent quality, and all the makers are great that go there. So do a lot of research and figure out what exactly you want. What was the second part to that question?
Second part was, do you prefer local sales or online customers?
I like local only because I like talking to people. So if I had to pick one, I prefer local. It saves with shipping too. And I do actually build pretty large things sometimes. I know y'all see me on the CNC side, but I actually specialize in large epoxy tables and stuff like that. So yeah, shipping's a pain.
Yeah, I agree. Well, not only that, but you also have different states getting involved with taxes and this, that, and the other. And I'm with you. I much prefer local sales.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't offer any products online at all. So I guess the trick in that is finding, I mean, you're not going to be able to compete with the big box stores, so don't even try, because you're going to lose before you start. It's trying to find that upper level market that you're aiming at, and everybody wants to find that market. You got any tips or any pointers for folks looking to break into that market? Where do you find these higher priced buyers?
So it just depends on where you're at. There's a couple of things I'll say about that. He's absolutely right. And you can't compete with Hobby Lobby. You just can't. You can't compete with China. You can't compete with the cabinet shops that just take their offcuts and make stuff just because. But you don't want to either. Those customers are not your customers. Those are the people I politely direct them to Walmart or Hobby Lobby. You just got to look around. One of the best places you can talk to people is interior designers, real estate agents. I actually work, and I do a lot of work in behind the scenes that nobody ever sees. I do a lot of wholesale work as well, but we won't talk about that. But one of the things that I've done is I reached out to real estate agents that says, hey, I can make this for you. I can customize it, and you can give it to your clients because they're going to spend the money and buy stuff for them anyway. So just to give you an example, one of the things I do, it's cutting boards. Cutting boards, you know, they're oversaturated in the market, but custom cutting boards you can still sell. So I make my real estate agents buy 10 cutting boards at a time. That is the minimum. They have to buy 10. But they also, one of my selling points is you don't have to keep up with the inventory. I will make the 10. I will keep them here. You tell me when you make a sale and what you want on the front of it. Usually it's just the initial of the person buying it or whatever. On the back, I already put their realtor information on it. So I already laser those and everything. It's already there. And they'll just call me up or email me and say, hey, I need an S or whatever. I'll throw it on the laser, engrave an S on it, condition it, and they'll come by and get it. And they give it to their clients.
That is perfect. That is, I'm here to tell you, as a recovering real estate agent, I can tell you that, okay, now, let me say, I also retired from doing that in 2018. So at that time, the average real estate agent would spend between $100 and $200 on closing gifts. When you sell a home, you know, especially for a buyer, you want to give them some sort of a gift to welcome them to their home. Cutting boards were the number one thing real estate agents love to get. And again, on the back side, their contact information on the back so that the client never forgets, and then some customization up front. Others were like little welcome home signs or something like that. But without giving anything away here and without taking away too much time, every real estate agency has a staff meeting at least once a week. If you go in and talk to the managing broker with some samples of what you do, even some pictures, if you go in and talk to the managing agent or managing broker and ask if you can sit in and present during their staff meeting, a lot of times they will let you do it. Because I had an in, I didn't have to do this, but what I would suggest is take something to give to that managing broker. Make a little bit of an investment in that.
Yep.
Do not use their logo. We had somebody come into our office with something with our logo on it. I think it was a clipboard with our logo engraved on the front of it. And he's like, where'd you get the logo? Did you get permission to use that logo? Why, why do you expect me to buy something from somebody who would rather infringe on our intellectual property? Started a whole fight. Don't use their logo. Don't use any logos other than your own.
Especially Jeep.
So, Jeep, Harley Davidson, or anything NFL or NCAA, you are really playing with fire. Yeah. So, Disney, don't do it. In fact, there's only one person that I have ever heard of that beat Disney's lawyers, but that's another story. So, that is a good way to find. And again, those are not hugely expensive, but it gets your name out there. And if you've got one of your pieces in a $750,000 to $1.5 million house, where did you get this? This is cool. I know somebody that might want one of these. Word of mouth is always the best advertising.
Yeah, and I've gotten commissions off of those cutting boards. Yes. I've gotten table commissions and stuff like that where hey, can you build this? Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I can.
Yeah. Yes, that works, believe me. Okay, Kimberly Went wants to know, since you're pretty new to CNC, what was your learning strategy? Ooh, good one.
I'm still learning. What are you talking about? So I'm just one of those people. I love to try to learn stuff, and I just watched YouTube like anybody else. That's your go-to on pretty much anything you want to do now at all. But I'll give a shout out to Kyle because I did play around with Carbide's software for a while. Got to a point where it wouldn't do everything I wanted it to. So I jumped on the Vectric bandwagon. Was happy about that. I've got Carveco. I've never really messed with it, but what I did is I looked at some of Mark's stuff. I've listened to Garrett, some of his stuff, and then I actually paid for Kyle's course, and I still haven't made it all the way through his course. But anyway, I had some specific things that I wanted to know, so I kind of looked for those. But yeah, just YouTube and just trial and error. I've wasted a lot of material.
Well, you know, that's kind of what I did when I got into this. I had one or two people who could help me, but they were self-taught as well. So a lot, it only went to a certain point. And then I got a little bit more experience with it, and I started making videos, and that forced me to dig further. And my grandfather, who got me going in woodworking years ago, always told me that you can't know everything. So you got to surround yourself with people who know what you don't know.
That's right.
So that's exactly what I did. I started finding people and asking them questions and learning. I mean, I absorbed like a sponge everything I possibly could. And I only wish Kyle had the Learn Your CNC courses when I was just getting started.
Yeah.
I know Kyle a little bit. He's a very personable guy, a very good guy. And I would highly recommend his courses because he is very good at what he does, and he knows what he's doing. And he's been at this for quite a while.
Yeah, I agree. I met him at Workbench Con this past year and had a good conversation with him. And yeah, super nice guy. And he is a genius. I think Vectric calls him when they have a question about Vectric.
Well, kind of. He and I are both beta testers, and there are big discussions in the beta testing forum, as Martin Pearson out here can, as he can confirm. And he's also got a good point. It's not wasted material; it's an investment in your knowledge and skills.
True.
You know. And on that note, something that I do here locally is I go down my local Craigslist and I look at the free section, because you will almost always find somebody throwing wood out. And I mean, I can't count high enough to tell you how many old fence boards I carved up, learning the CNC, learning the bits, learning, a new technique or something like that. I have no philosophical problem with cutting up something that was headed for the landfill.
Yep.
I do have a problem with experimenting on a $200 piece of maple.
Yep.
So, but you never know what you're going to find. I brought home 16 solid cherry cabinet doors.
Yeah. The good thing is that since I do build stuff, a lot of times I have some offcuts that I know I'm not going to use for anything else. And sometimes I will just, if I'm going to play around, 3D is something that I've just gotten into recently. Yeah. So I've used a lot of those pieces to play around with some 3D stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody said something about Fusion a while ago. It's so funny because I actually just designed my first anything in Fusion 360 the other day, and it was a plate to go on a camera mount. It was super simple, but I'm not a 3D designer.
Well, that was Maurice over at Erikson Design and Woodworking.
Yeah.
Another killer creator. And if you've never seen Erikson Design and Woodworking's YouTube channel, get over there. In fact, I'm going to talk to Maurice and see if he wants to be a guest. No pressure, Maurice. Just making it public. I'll shoot you an email later on.
Talk to him.
He's a
Maurice,
good guy.
have we talked before? I feel like I talked to somebody about some 3D designs a while back.
He's a good guy, but he's one of those fusion people, and you know how they are.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, just messing with you, Maurice. You know the deal. I'll reach out to you a bit later on. Let's see here. 8 Center wants to know, how long do you spend prototyping, And what is your process for testing, like using MDF for testing, etc.?
Yeah, so I use MDF. Any kind of prototyping for anything, I use MDF. It's super cheap, and I do some production work, and I'll leave it at that. So I do have some MDF offcuts that I actually will use for prototyping. How long? Just it depends. Depends on how easy it is for me to come up with what I think is going to work. Sometimes I'll prototype version 1, and I'm good. I've got a couple of things that are like version 7. You can tell by my file name if it says V7, that's my 7th iteration of it. So
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, MDF is good to use for prototyping.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a house full of prototypes because I have my design inspiration is, generally speaking, what my wife's kids or grandkids want.
Yep.
So she wants this. I'll make a prototype out of poplar or something, real cheap and easy to source and not very dear. And it's like, okay, this works. She's got a couple of things that I made out of poplar 20 years ago that she's still using. It's like, nope, this one works. I don't need anything else. I'm like, okay. So I got a house full of prototypes.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, one of these days she'll get the finished project, but it's just, I've got this. Now let's move on to that. I'm like, okay, fine. So
I know that feeling.
Yep. When it comes to MDF, though, I think MDF is a tool of the devil. And because, I mean, if you are going to even experiment with MDF, step 1 is to get your dust collection perfected, because MDF dust creeps everywhere into places you didn't know you had places.
It does.
So get your dust collection spot on. I mean, whoa.
I just recently put a new boot on my Avid, which you well know.
We're going to go there? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you go ahead and give him a shout out. I know you have his website, but yeah. Mark gave me the contact information of a gentleman that makes dust boots, and I reached out to him, and man, it's awesome. It's really doing good. We're working on something else right now that I can't say anything about yet, but hopefully that comes to fruition for those of us content creators. That's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's Keith Morland. Happy birthday, Keith, by the way. That's Keith Morland over at One Guy in a Shop on Etsy, and I'll put a link to his Etsy store. Just write a note to myself. It's called I love the name, the Triceravac Dust Eater.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And brother, this thing does work. It basically has mine has four separate chambers that it basically surrounds the bed on 3 sides with dust collection ducts. And brother, it works.
It does. It works very well.
Works very well. And, it's awesome. So I'll put a link in the description as soon as we're done live here. So Howard's asking if the chat's working. Yes, sir, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. All right, let's find another one. But yeah, I seriously, if you're going to even play with MDF, even to just surface your spoil board, get your dust collecting in order.
For sure.
Okay, let's see. Jim Brown wants to know, for epoxy inlays, after pouring then carving it into it, can you inlay wood pieces, or would the glue not stick to the epoxy?
That is so funny you should say that, because I actually have a project that I have in my mind now that's going to require that. But no, don't use glue. Use epoxy to glue it in. Wood glue is not going to work well with the epoxy, but epoxy will bond well to both wood and epoxy. So use epoxy.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. That's one of the side benefits of having to glue near epoxy is the glue won't stick to the epoxy, so it'll just
Yep.
chip right off.
Yeah,
It'll
just use
you
epoxy.
can just, so yes, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Ellen says, so this micro jig you have on your site, thank you. I think I just found a new tool to add to my want list.
You are welcome. Yeah, I got an affiliate link. They're actually one of my newer affiliate companies. I just have started working with MicroJig, so that's pretty awesome. They're a great company, really cool people. But yeah, I love
Nice.
that. If you're talking about the saw blade cleaner, I love that thing.
Oh, really? I got to check that out. Okay. Well, Steve is dead on it already. There's a link to One Guy in the Shop's Epsi page. And thank you. I appreciate that very much, Steve.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
No, I just said awesome.
Okay. Let's see here. This is kind of a general one here. I have a question. I have a full sheet CNC with vacuum hold downs. I have an issue with the MDF spoil board warping. Do you have any solutions?
The spoil board itself is warping? That's odd.
Now, I got to ask you, Doctor, do you live in a high humidity area? Because I do. I live in Southern Oregon, and we have sometimes weeks at a time where we've got dense fog here. And dense fog is 100% humidity. And literally, things will start to mildew.
Oh, wow.
So I have to seal it. Like my spoil board and what have you, I'm less picky about it now. I just use a sanding sealer. And it can be either a shellac based or vinyl based sanding sealer. But I have to seal my spoil board, otherwise it will start mildewing and rotting. I also noticed that the edges or right around holes that have been drilled in, or where I've used my composite nailer to hold down sheet goods, that will also swell around those open areas.
Yep.
No
CNC in the
it's in a humanity controlled atmosphere. Well, humidity, I think you mean, but yeah, I agree with the first point.
That is
then
odd.
And yeah, I think that is odd as well. There's got to be some sort of an outside influence there, whether it be the temperature extremes or maybe, I don't know how you have your spoil board fastened.
Are you gluing your spoil board down by chance? Because the MDF can soak up the moisture from the glue.
Now, I do that. Okay. The MDF spoil board is warping is it warping on top of the vacuum hold down? That might be, maybe your vacuum is so strong it's pulling that MDF down.
That's odd. What vacuum system do you have?
Yeah.
Throw that in the chat. Because I
Yeah.
have the Airweights vacuum system, and I actually I had to seal the edges of my MDF to make it work better. Otherwise, you'll lose vacuum out the edges.
Yeah, that's what, from what I was told, that's what you have to do, is seal those edges.
Mm-hmm.
But if this is on a vacuum table itself and it's pulling that hard that it's warping the MDF, I don't know anything about vacuum systems. I would probably tend to get a hold of the manufacturer of that system and describe the issue. You may have to turn down the pressure. It may just be sucking too hard. If it's sucking so hard that it's pulling the MDF, you might need more bracing underneath to prevent that. I don't know.
It's supposed to pull the MDF down.
whatever you put on top of it. Again, I don't know the system. I don't have a vacuum.
I mean, it shouldn't warp it, because the base underneath it, you should have a grid system underneath the MDF. There should be a vacuum grid system made of something. It could be made of MDF. It could be made of some kind of plastic or whatever, HDPE. But you should have a grid system underneath it, and possibly have a gasket system as well. You don't have to have the gasket throughout the grid, but it works better if you do. Is it one that came with your machine?
Okay, here. If I put a full sheet of plywood on top of the MDF sheet, it will suck everything down. But if I use smaller sheets, it won't. And I have 6 zone controls with 2.2 kW vacuum. Yeah, I would get a hold of the manufacturer.
Yeah, I would for
This
sure.
is a manufacturer question, because something is not right. It shouldn't be distorting that whole thing.
No, there's got to be something underneath with that grid system that's not working correctly. It shouldn't warp it at all.
Yeah, and in fact, that's one of the benefits, is to keep everything nice and flat and stable. So, wow. Okay, Kurt over at Crafty Jans wants to know, when you epoxy the wood inlay into the project, going back to wood inlay into the epoxy inlay, would you scuff the surface of the epoxy before you apply the uncured epoxy and wood?
Yes. Yep. You definitely want to scuff it. I mean, it doesn't have to be super scuffed. It's just the epoxy, when it's going against epoxy, has to have something to hold on to. Cured epoxy doesn't like to stick to itself. So just a little bit of sandpaper, 220 grit, something like that. Just a little bit of scuffing, just enough to where it can grab hold.
I find it also depends on what you're doing the inlays with, what you're carving in with. Because, for instance, when I did that multicolor epoxy inlay, it was 15 different colors in that pirate. And I didn't scuff up anything. The V-bit that I used to do the cut was enough to leave a rough enough surface that the epoxies bonded no problem.
Yep.
So
Julianne has joined us.
Julianne from
Hey,
IDC.
Julianne.
Hey. Okay, Martin says, if a full sheet is fine, but a smaller sheet isn't, then it sounds like you have a problem with your isolation for the zones. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Let's see here. We have a couple of general, we have a couple of general questions here. One of them in reference to a video of mine. When I'm going through your dish relief video, then I save it as an STL. It looks like it saves the zero plane over the top of the STL. Yes, it does. Do you have any answers or fixes? Thanks. Yes. But it depends on, well, obviously, if you're saving it as an STL, you have a spire. What you'll want to do, let me bring Aspire in over here. What you'll want to do, let me throw something out here real fast. We're going to clip art, and I'll do that. Just put one out here in the middle. Back over to, well, no, now I got to go to components and change combine mode to subtract so that it's a dish. Go into my 3D view. We'll see that there. Come back into design. And now I'll add a zero plane. Okay. If you save this as an STL now, then yes, it's going to include the zero plane. So what I'll need to do is come back over into the 2D view. And I'm going to, where is it? Here it is. I'm going to draw a boundary vector around this, it's not here, it's here. I'm going to draw a vector boundary around that component. Click on that icon, and I've just created that vector boundary. If I need to make it bigger for some reason, say offset it out 1/4 of an inch, I can offset that vector. Then what I'll do, and I'll go back to my 3D view so you can see this. With that vector selected, I'm going to remove the clear area outside of that vector. I'll click on that. I didn't select the component. Select the component, hold down Shift, select the vector. I'm going to clear outside of that. Okay. So now, let me turn on my zero plane layer. I cleared the wrong thing. Select the zero plane, select the vector, clear everything outside of it. And that zero plane is now gone. Okay. Now you can save it, export it as an STL, and that zero plane won't be there. So go back, Control Z to undo all that. You'll select the zero plane, hold down Shift, select the vector, and then third tool down, third row down, second from the end, clear outside of that vector. There you go. Is it the same in the multiply mode? Yes, the combine mode should not matter. You'll place that vector, you'll place and size that vector where you need it. So the combine mode doesn't matter. The combine mode just sets this inside of the dish or whatever you're working on. Come back over here. There we go. I think I would offset that out. Let's offset it outward 1/4 of an inch. It's easier to see. Okay, close. Now I'll select that and select that so we can get the full effect. And hello, select that. Come on, select that. Select that. Clear everything outside. There we go. So that's how that works. All right. So, and I recognize the question. I did get your email, and I apologize for taking so long, or the comment rather, and just so much stuff going on in the background. I'm really, really, really behind. So I apologize for that. All right. 8 Center wants to know, Greg, what's the biggest hellish project you've done that taught you the most?
I was just thinking about that because it was funny because he asked that question and then he followed it up with what's the most fun project that you've done and why. And it's actually the same project. And it's funny because it actually has to do with 3D. I am not good with 3D. Again, I have just started messing with it, and I can't say too much, only because it's a current project and a current video I'm working on right now. But I am doing a large coffee table that has a 3D design in it that is also going to be poured with resin as well. It was really cool. It's big. So a coffee table size 3D project, anybody that does 3D knows that's a big 3D project. So it's a lot of fun. One of the biggest things one of the things that made it the most fun is, I'll shout out to our community that we have, myself and Matt, 731 Woodworks, Sawdust Startups, where we teach people about starting up businesses and stuff like that. And I coach over there. Well, the cool thing is this project needed some painting done first before I could pour any resin. I don't paint, y'all. y'all don't want to see me paint anything. So
you too, huh?
yes. So it was really cool because I was actually able to hire one of the members of that community to come here to my shop and paint this thing that I carved. And that made it so much fun. It was just really cool. And just, I don't know, it was just kind of a whole community thing. So it was really awesome. That video should be out hopefully in the month-ish, maybe.
A month-ish, maybe. Okay. All right. Okay.
It'll take a little time.
I'm going to throw something at you here. It's a tip that one of my channel members gave me. Kurt over at Crafty Jans. He's in the chat right there. What he does on his painted projects was he went to his local high school, talked to the art instructors over there, and found students who were real good with painting who wanted to earn a few bucks on the side. And he hires them to come paint his projects.
Oh, cool.
And from what I gather, it's very reasonable price. They make a few bucks on the side while they're in school. I don't know if the teacher gives them credit for it or not. But I mean, name a high schooler that doesn't want to make a little bit of money on the side. So, you know, jumping over to the high school and talking to, I mean, believe me, high school art teachers have a student in mind. When you say, I need somebody who's really good at painting,
yep,
a name will pop in.
Very true. Very true.
You know? And maybe they'll put you guys into contact with one another, and there you go. So, yeah,
Cool.
like Butch says, high school students always need money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with the students, I have a fridge full of water and soda for them as well. Oh, yeah. So there you go.
You go.
So, okay. Well, I look forward to seeing that video. Now you mentioned sawdust startups, and I put a link to it in the description. Would you like to elaborate on what that is and what it does?
Yeah. So this was the brainchild of Matt Outlaw from 731 Woodworks and another gentleman named Nick. He has actually edits Matt's short videos for his channel. Anyway, they came up with the basically it's just a I know y'all have seen courses out there before, and a lot of people do have really good courses. This one I really do like because, one, I'm now a partner in it, but I can tell you that we actually do care about you being successful. So what we try to do is coach you on pretty much everything there is to starting a business. No legal advice or anything like that, but just, you know, how to leverage social media, how to leverage YouTube if you so choose, how to leverage Facebook Marketplace, how to leverage craft shows. I actually do the module on craft shows within there. So it's a monthly subscription, but I like to think it's worth it. We have I think we hit 500 members over there today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. And it's super amazing community. It really is. Everybody's so nice. And we have some really big success stories from some folks in there making a lot of money with a very new business. And I'm just super excited about that. But yeah. So there's a link, like you said, if you're interested in checking it out, you're more than welcome to come check it out. Hang out with us for a month. And if you don't find any value in it, you ain't got to come back, but I think you would.
Well, yeah. If you're especially if you're thinking of starting up like a side hustle that you eventually want to turn full time, but you really are like me and have no clue what to do. You've got an idea, you've got the machine, you've got the shop. Now what do I do?
Yep.
I mean, again, you can't know everything, so surround yourself with people who know what you don't. And
yeah, it's really cool. We have a lot of fun over there.
I mean, you've invested in a lot of tools. Now invest in yourself. So what the heck? Yeah. And again, there's a link down in the description. If you are one of those folks who come in and like yesterday, you'll have to refresh your screen, but do it after we're done.
Yes, please. Don't cut us off now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's in there.
Ellen says, "What? I'm interested. Is the link for the course available?" It's in the description.
It is.
It's in the description. 8 Center says, "I'm trying to figure out how to get into the distributor network for something. Where do the shops go to buy their wholesale stuff like?"
Talking about that's one of the things I actually I go over in our program is wholesaling, because that's something I don't broadcast that a lot because it is kind of a backside of my business, but I do a lot of wholesaling. I actually do wholesaling for some content creators that produce materials. I actually make the materials as a white label, I guess you could say, for them. So there is a totally different path to doing wholesale. Pricing structure is similar, but it is different. And yeah, so that's something I definitely go over in there. It makes you money.
I think the problem with a lot of folks who are trying to get into wholesaling is that they think they're either shortcutting themselves when it comes to revenue, or they think they're going to get the retail price when they're trying to sell wholesale, and you're just not. I mean,
Nope.
if you know that your product is worth $150 retail, you're not going to get $150 for it selling at wholesale. That's just not going to happen.
Nope. I'll just give you a quick example of one of the things that I talk about in the module inside there. One product I do for a person, they sell for $20. That is the retail price. It costs them to their door from me a little over $12. So they don't have to do anything.
Right.
I mean, they literally don't have to do anything. They literally just take it, repackage it. Customers paying for shipping, so that's out. So what they get is 100% profit. So yeah, I am not making $20 on it because I'm not retailing it, but I'm making $12 and some change on it, and they're still making a profit too. So we're both making about a 40%, 50% profit margin. So can't beat it.
Yeah. Okay. Says, "Oh, unless yours is the only product like it, then you can pick your price. But I actually want to make it in the thousands and tens of thousands and can in theory." Well, then I think you pretty much have to have a product and a retailer in mind.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know.
because to move thousands, you're going to have a retailer in mind. I mean, most people, I'll say most people, because there's going to be one, most people are not going to be able to move that much product alone.
Right. And especially not with one machine.
Oh, for sure not with one machine. But
Unless
if
it's
you're
got
asking,
11 heads on it or something like that.
Yeah. If you're wondering where to get wholesale, maybe that was part of the question I didn't answer. If you're wondering where to get wholesale goods for materials, that's going to depend on where you are. I am fortunate about 40 miles down the road. I have a wholesaler where I actually buy my sheet goods and everything at wholesale prices. So look for somebody local to you that sells wholesale. It usually will come with a dollar figure. You're going to have to spend X amount of dollars per year, per quarter, per whatever to get that pricing. But as long as you do that, then you can usually get wholesale pricing, which of course increases your profit margin.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I was confused because I thought you were trying to 8 Center. I thought you were trying to be the wholesale supplier. Turns out you're trying to buy from the wholesaler so you can then sell. So that's a totally different ball game there, because you are going to have to concern yourself with shipping. If you're trying to get 10,000 items in, it's not going to be through the U.S. mail. So, I mean, transportation is always a huge cost.
Yep.
And if it's got to be like drop shipped or something like that, or you have to order a whole container full, yeah. Okay, he says, "No, I'm trying to be the wholesale supplier, so you were right the first time." Okay. Yeah, then you're going to have to, again, like Greg was saying, you're probably going to need to find a retailer who's interested in your product, and then you two work
Yeah.
together.
You're going to have to get with a local whatever. I don't know what the product is or what the material is. I'm assuming it's wood. Get with your local wood supplier, see what it's going to take to get, because obviously the better price, you're going to have to probably make some at very little profit to get to the point where you can get wholesale pricing. And as you get wholesale pricing, that gap opens up. Your profit margin will actually get larger when the price of the product stays the same.
Yeah. And it's also going to depend on your local area. You know, you can talk to some local cabinet shops or furniture makers, find out where they get their materials from. And usually, just by contacting the first or second one, they will be able to help guide you. If they can't supply you in the quantities you're talking about, they can recommend someone who can.
Yep.
You know. So it's just once you get your foot in that door, and that's the hard part, is getting your foot in that door. But once you do, generally speaking, because all of these business owners talk to each other. Believe me, the cabinet shop down the street from me, he's talking to the cabinet shop 10 miles away, and they're both talking to another one that's 7 miles away. So they all know each other. They all bump into each other. They don't always like each other, but they're aware of one another.
Yeah.
And if somebody has a good source, all of them will share that source. Believe me.
Yep.
So, okay, here we got a couple of more questions. Oh, one comment. John Thompson says he loves that Jenny Bit background.
I love my Cody. Cody's a good friend of mine. I've got an interview I did with him on my channel. If you hadn't seen that, it's a lot of fun. Cody, now I'll throw it. Julianne's in here. Let me give a shout out to IDC Woodcraft. So you can get the Jenny Bits now at IDC Woodcraft or at the Jenny Bits site, either one. Mark put a link in the description too, and I'm going to cut into some of Julianne's profits here. If you use my code, you can get 10% off. So sorry, Julianne.
The link with the discount code for both IDC Woodcraft and Cadence Manufacturing, the Jenny Bits. Even though Jenny Bits are available through IDC, there's a link to both along with the discount code.
Yep.
There's another one too. Speaking of air weights.
Yes.
There's a link and a discount code to the air weights vacuum system down in the description. So look, you guys got no excuse. You can just click that little more button right underneath the video panel, and a big old a lot of you never seen this. You click that and a big old description is going to open up, and you're going to find all kinds of links with discount codes, all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
So
yeah, the air weight system's great. I talked to Jace a while back, and he sent me out a system to try out. Man, that thing is so much fun. So he's got me wanting to build, when I move my shop, I'm probably going to build a vacuum table for my Avid. So it's just so versatile.
I've had a couple people ask me about the Airweights vacuum system, and I plan on getting one. And again, I'm a home hobbyist. I don't sell my stuff. The stuff I make is for my family. I really don't have a need for one. I saw the Airweights and I'm like, that is kind of cool, because I mean, for surfacing materials, I would imagine it's perfect for that.
It is. It's great.
But I am paranoid about cutting through that son of a gun, because I know my luck.
You can cut into it a little bit. But yeah, it's not too bad. I was nervous about the same thing, but it's been great. And I'm not going to go all into it, but I use it for several different things, because I have like little fixtures cut out of the other plate. So for repeatability, man, it's awesome, because I can throw it up there, throw my little fixture on there, drop my piece in, hit the go button, and it's just there. It's awesome.
Okay. I may check into it. I don't know. But anyway, there's a discount code for the Airweights also down there.
That's right. I think it's 10% too.
Yeah. See here for air weights, it is 10%.
Yep. And that, full disclosure, that does help my channel out as well, because of course it is an affiliate link. I get, I get a kickback on it too. Y'all, pretty sure everybody knows that, but so yeah, so you're helping everybody out.
All right.
Plus
yeah. Everybody's a winner.
That's right.
So, like Oprah, you're a winner, you're a winner, you're a winner.
That's it. It's all a community.
Now, I have been stalling on this one because I'm trying to think of how I would put this, but let's check it out. Kimberly wants to know, if I want a 5/8 marble to sit proud, 1/4 hole good or smaller? Sit proud of what? If you just want a little dimple there to set the marble in, it depends on how proud you want it to sit above whatever surface. You could take a 1/2 inch diameter or 5/8 diameter core box bit and just, kiss it maybe 1/8 inch if it doesn't need to stay in place. Or you could take a 1/2 inch ball nose or core box bit and go about 1/8 inch deep, and then it'll sit. If you need it to sit on this spot, like, remember the little BBs in the holes, you got to shake this. If you need that to sit, just a regular end mill cutting about 1/8 inch deep would do it. About 1/4 inch diameter. Just depends on what you're trying to do. So, there you go. Butch Miller says, I make aggravation boards. I use 5/8 inch core box bits, cutting 0.2 deep, so just slightly less than 1/4 inch deep. Good. And their aggravation also goes by another name, and I'm trying to remember what it's called. I don't remember what it's called. So let's see. Okay, yeah, there was a few comments about that. All right. Trouble, I don't know. Okay, Wahoo, that's what it's called. Wahoo. Aggravation or Wahoo. So, whatever looks best, maybe 2/3 out, 1/3 in the perimeter of the wood ring. I would go with something about the same diameter as the marble. And then I like Butch's idea, because something about like aggravation or even Chinese checkers is the way to go. Now, Papa's Workshop's got a good idea here. If you have a drill sizer, I used to have one up here. I think I put it back in the drawer it belongs in. That you can just drop the marble in and see whatever looks best. See how much is sticking out. Then you know what diameter you'll need.
That's a good idea.
And then just go for the gusto from there. If you can get away with a ball nose bit will work. If you need something a little bit different, a core box bit will handle most diameters. Because you can get core box bits in different diameters. I use drill gauges a lot for a lot of goofy things. They work real well. So do thread gauges, and I'm cheesing myself off because I have about 5 of them floating around, and of course none of them are right here. But you need to find a quick diameter. Boom, 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 boom. There you go. Okay, Eyal Peleg says in Hebrew that game is called Patience. Okay, I can see that.
Yep.
Butch says, I found that with kids playing these games, the board gets bumped. Yes, they do. And sometimes it's even by accident.
True.
So
I hate to ask laser. That is not the Avid attachment. I really want that Avid attachment. But no, I don't use my laser a ton. I really don't. But I have the X-Tool D1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Avid is, they're doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and I'm not giving away any secrets when I say the problem they fell into is a problem a lot of companies fall into. They did a lot of R&D, they did a lot of development, they did a lot of testing and everything else, and by the time they came out with their product, it was already obsolete. And that being the laser itself, because the laser they offered, the manufacturer already had more powerful units. So they're doing a bunch of stuff in the background working on that. So not much you can say about that. They're just doing a lot of tap dancing in the background as well. I'll just say that. So, all right. Blue Turtle Studios. Does cutting through epoxy on the CNC take a different bit? Say you pour one component of your design, then want to come over it with a second design part that goes through the first component.
Not at all. That's Barry from Blue Turtle Studios. He's got a cool YouTube channel too. He's a good guy. No, Barry, you can use any bit that you can use for wood, you can use for epoxy. Same as blades on saws and everything. Epoxy cuts pretty much just the same as wood. Yep. It's just messier.
That's been my yeah, really. That's been my experience as well. The only thing I would suggest is you let it sit for 24 hours at a minimum, about 16 at a minimum. And it also depends upon the thickness of the casting. When I did that Pirate that was 16 colors, I just let it overnight. But then again, I was only carving 0.1 deep. I wasn't even going 1/8 of an inch. So it was fully cured by the next day.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm thinking of the CNC as the paintbrush and the epoxy as the paint. Hey, it's valid. Yep. I mean, you know. Let's see. We're working on a little bit, about not quite 20 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. Questions for Greg about anything at all. Questions for me about anything at all. We can both tap dance here and hem and haw and just kind of shoot the breeze, or we can get into it. But I always ask everybody this question, Greg, simply because they don't expect it. What is the one question that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
I don't know. Probably the one that somebody's sitting there thinking right now that didn't type.
Well, there's that. But I mean, most folks have something that they're very passionate about, or they're a message they want to get across, and they're just waiting for the right time to say it. So if there is anything like that, that's why I ask, what's the question that I should have asked that I didn't?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, we've pretty much talked about everything I'm pretty passionate about. I mean, if I had one thing to say to everybody, it kind of goes back to that question earlier somebody kind of touched on. And it's just something I see happen all the time. Those of you that are selling your stuff, don't underprice yourself. Know what your value is. It is so awesome. I'm glad you asked that, because I want to say this, because I forgot where I said this, and I wish I could give credit where credit's due, but I can't. Apologize. But somebody was talking about a water bottle, and talking about your value. Somebody asked the question about your local markets or whatever, finding those clients. Just think about a water bottle. If you buy a water bottle at Walmart, it's going to cost you $1. If you go to, I don't know, a concert, that same water bottle is going to cost you $4. If you go somewhere else, I don't know, overseas or whatever, that water bottle is going to cost you $8, or on the airline, $8. The water bottle didn't change. Your location did. So if you're looking in the areas and you're not getting your worth, you might just need to change locations, because you'll get your worth somewhere. There's somewhere that you can sell your products, sell yourself, whatever, and get what you truly are worth. Dang, that was like deep, wasn't it?
That was very deep. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I like when I ask that question, because, dude, you are so right. You are so right.
That's us. Sargon asked a good question. You know, it's so funny. We started this out talking about, you know, when I got into woodworking, and I didn't even tell you what I do for a living.
No, and I generally don't ask, because a lot of people don't.
I don't mind.
I don't want to relate the two, but
I don't mind at all. I'm actually, it's funny. No, it has absolutely nothing to do with woodworking. I'm a full-time paramedic. I am actually in an office now. I no longer work on the truck or the aircraft. I'm in the office. I'm over all the education for our local area and organization for all of our paramedics and EMTs. So if you watch my channel, you're going to see that, because one of the tables that I do, that I use the CNC, I do a big table that I donated to my actual work. And kind of not remembrance, but appreciation for all of our folks in public safety and EMS. Well,
thank you for everything that you do. I have a real good friend who's a retired firefighter, and he doesn't like to hear it. Nobody likes to hear it. But this is my personal opinion. You are one of the heroes. You're truly doing God's work, and I thank you.
Thank you very much
for what you do and everybody you're with in that endeavor. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not something that I could do. And I appreciate the heck out of those who do it. So
a lot of good folks out there.
Oh, big time. Big time. Suddenly we now get questions. Any thoughts on the Centroid controller upgrade for the Avid?
Other than I want it. I'll say this. I will probably have it before too long. Mm-hmm. One way or the other, I'm going to wind up with it. I really do want it. And I want the servos. So it's going on my machine one way or the other.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, honesty is honesty. Personally, I have the stepper motors, and I'm using Mach 4. I have no need for the Centroid Acorn controller. I have no need for the servos. Having said that, they're cool. It's cool, and there's so much more available within Centroid, especially control for the rotary and what have you. Can I justify it? Probably not. Do I want it? Yeah. Am I going to wait? Yeah. The reason I'm going to wait is because if you frequent the Avid CNC forum, you know, there are still some growing pains. There's still a few things going on behind the scenes. I tend to try to not jump on version 1 of anything. I tend to kind of wait and let them iron out all the bugs. You know, maybe version 2 is better. Maybe version 3 is even better. The one exception to that being Vectric software. I want it now. Give it to me. I want it now. So, yeah, it's never say never. Just right now, I don't have the need, so I'm not gonna do it yet. So, the Fuzz wants to know, have you tried the new V-Carve inlay fixture of version 12? Your inlay video is pretty awesome.
Yes, I have. Yes, it works. I don't use it. I don't use it mainly because I like my method more, and I do deeper inlays. I think if you're doing shallower inlays, I think that works pretty well and does a good job. But my inlays are typically deeper. Now, if I were going to do a shallow one, I'd probably use it because it is pretty quick.
Yeah, it does all the thinking for you.
It does. It really does. So yeah, I mean, it's a good feature. It's a good feature a lot of people wanted. So I do my inlays a little different, but yeah, it's definitely a good feature.
I think there's some growing pains with that one too, but that's another subject for another day.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
And I'm so used to my way now that it'd be hard to get me to.
Uh-oh. Okay. This is my wife. Do you like cookies?
I do like cookies. I am, however, a diabetic. So,
oh no.
Yeah, well, so sometimes I'll still eat them. If they're good cookies, I'll eat them.
You may have just saved yourself. My wife is a baker.
Oh yeah.
In fact, she just got a new stand mixer yesterday because she wore hers out. So
holy cow. That's a lot of bacon or a lot of mixing dough.
Yeah. She's on her second stand mixer and I believe her fourth bread machine, but I don't know.
That is awesome.
That's why I am the shape I'm in. And yes, round is a shape. And then this one, I don't understand, Ray. Why don't I do these in Zoom? Because StreamYard is better. It really is. To me, StreamYard is better. It's easier to use. It's easier integration with YouTube. It's 100% web-based. Nobody has to download anything or install anything. I just prefer it. I've used both, and I prefer StreamYard. So, I mean, Brooks Martin says, I love oak, cherry, walnut, and maple cookies. Yes.
Agreed.
And he has sent me pictures of some of the work holding that he uses for them. And it's pretty slick. Brooks is a good guy, and he's very talented.
Brooks, I have some Clara walnut cookies out here in my garage that I got.
Excuse me, sir. This is the non-gloating zone.
Yes. I haven't been able to use them for anything yet, but they're sitting there. I'm super excited.
All right. Oak or maple bacon? That's the real question. Depends on the day.
Bacon's always the answer.
It depends on the day. Sometimes, but oak or maple?
Oh, it doesn't matter as long as it's bacon.
That's what I mean. It just depends on the mood, So, all right. We need to go ahead and wrap this up. We've been on for about an hour and a half. So let me just say this in summary. Links to everything that Greg talked about are down in the description of this video. Again, just click on where it says more, and a whole new world will open up for you. There are discount codes for let me take a look so I don't mess up here. There is a discount code for, you didn't talk about CNC with me.
I didn't. Oh,
Hamilton
on here. Let me see.
Hide.
He is. So let me talk about CNC with me real quick.
Okay.
And it's funny because it would actually apply probably to this group more than the other one. But so Hamilton developed a community called CNC with me. It is geared specifically to CNC users, and it's also geared towards Jenny bits. And he has done it with 3 Jenny bits. So basically every project we put in there and every project that's available can be done with only 3 bits. Of course, you can use whatever you want to, but that's kind of the way he designed it for the beginners to be able to just have the minimum bits to be able to do all the projects that are created. We put a link in the description. That's actually my biggest discount too. There is a 15% discount code to join us on CNC with me. That community is amazing. I'm also one of the instructors over there. It is awesome. I think we have 700 or 800 people in that community now.
Oh, wow.
We have challenges every week. We have a thing called CNC Against Me, where you compete with the instructors on a project. It's a lot of fun. Go check it out. We have a really good time. The cool thing is all the projects that we design there, everybody. So yeah, the sawdust is the business startup. But the projects we design in there are available for everybody that's a member. The ones Hamilton designs, and there's several other instructors in there. They're all for free. You get all of the projects for free. Yeah. You can download them. They come in. We do them. Mitz is the one that takes care of the files for us. You can download them in Vectric. You can download them in Carve Code, the SVG, the DXF files. It's pretty awesome, and it's not that expensive either. And you get a lot for it. And then we have weekly calls and just a lot going on. Just go check it out. I won't keep rambling. There's a good rundown on if you just go to the website. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. And that's Hamilton Dillbeck, by the way, for those that we're both saying Hamilton is. Hamilton who?
Right, exactly.
At that Broadway show or that movie? No.
That's it.
Let's see. Then you also have, and that's 15% off for CNC with me.
Correct.
You have a discount code for IDC Woodcraft, 10% off. You have a discount code of 10% off for Cadence Manufacturing Design, home of the Jenny bits. And I got to tell you, I love that Jenny bit. I really do. The original Jenny compression bit. I needed to cut out a bunch of my push stick for my table saws was a little janky there, getting a little sketchy using it. So I cut out a couple a minute ago or yesterday, cutting out 2 of those in 50 seconds, 3/4 inch plywood, 1 pass with that Jenny, and it didn't even feel it.
Yep.
I ain't kidding you, brother. It will go through plywood like a knife through butter. So, yeah, love them Jenny bits. And the 10% discount code to the Airweights vacuum system. Greg, I got to tell you, it's been a lot of fun having you. And hopefully, if I ask you to come back, maybe you'll think about it. But I'm not gonna put you on the spot now.
No, I will. I'm all about it. I love this community, and I think anybody that knows me that knows that I try to give back to this community as much as I can, whether that be answering questions on here, just shooting the proverbial bull, and whatever. So yeah, I'm always down for it.
Yeah, well, I could talk your ear off, and we could spend hours doing this. I definitely will be asking you back because this is a lot of fun, and I got to start getting more guests on. I keep saying it, and I just don't do it.
There's the Clack. He's made his appearance.
Yeah. Oh, Clack Shack. Yep, there we go. Greg is an okay dude. Just okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. I need to go ahead and wrap this up, and by saying, channel members, tomorrow I'm going to be tap dancing because what we were going to do has been postponed until next week, so I'll think of something. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you want to become a channel member, just click that join button down below this video panel. Another panel will pop up and a video is going to play. They'll tell you about channel membership. We got a great group of folks, and we'd love to have you join. Next week, another guest. I don't have to tap dance as much. I'm going to have Scott from M&S Woodworks, another great creator. Speaking of inlays, another gentleman who loves his deep inlays. And I was introduced through him by his video, A Redneck's Guide to Inlays. He's good. He's very good at what he does, and he's a great guy. So next week, Scott from M&S Woodworks will be my guest. And other than that, any final words there, Greg?
I don't think so. I look forward to seeing y'all out there. And if y'all got any questions, shoot them to me. Holler at me. You can reach out to me through my website. All my emails on there. If you have any questions.
All right. A website link down in the description. Get over to Greg's channel, subscribe, binge watch. You'll be glad you did. There's a lot of good information over there on the woodworking side as well as on the CNC side. Can't go wrong. Thank you again, Greg. I appreciate it. And until tomorrow, channel members, and next week, everybody else, thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. Y'all take care.
See y'all later.